only want to say one thing. When you are an author, you can write literally anything that you want. And this is the thing that the author wanted to write. Henry telling literally everybody that he can hear Nate and Anastasia through the wall. Why? Hello and welcome to Connotation Points Video Snark. If you came here because you thought that this is an audiobook, please stick around and maybe learn some reading and listening comprehension skills. I read books, discuss what went wrong and how they can possibly be fixed. I'm continuing my read-through of Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. Chapter 17. It's hard to be happy about having the best sex of your life. I absolutely refuse to believe that, especially coming from somebody who clearly enjoys hookups and casual sex. Anastasia complains that Nate left a bunch of hickeys on her neck. He thinks that it's cute when she's angry, which in my opinion is kind of a red flag. But what else is new? He encourages her to quit her job and to remain in bed with him, but she scoffs over it and reminds him that not everybody is a trust fund baby. He takes her to her apartment so that she can get changed and then drops her off at the rink in town. He then asks her if he can see her again. I reach into my bag and pull out my planner, flicking to October 23rd. Work, study, gym, dinner. No, sorry, I'm busy. Bye, Nate. Again, I wish she would simply tell him that she's not interested. I mean, she kind of already did tell him that she isn't interested in anything long term, but he refuses to listen and keeps pushing and pushing. Like, buddy, take a hint. Even after she goes inside, he texts her to keep pestering her about when she has free time. Dude, take a hint. However, he does offer to pick her up after work, which she agrees to. But upon picking her up, he demands her planner and says that he is going to toss it away because it's ruining my week. I'm sorry, but do people find this kind of manipulative, abusive nonsense sexy or in any way romantic? If you do, please seek help. Yes, I did kind of poke fun at Anastasia claiming that she could make time if she wanted to, but holy cow, she's told him over and over that she isn't interested, that she isn't willing to make time. It's her choice to say no. Nate constantly badgering her until she eventually gives in and dates him is beyond gross. Anyway, Nate asks her how long that she's been keeping such detailed plans of her life. She says that it started when she was 9. This is obviously shocking to Nate, although Anastasia admits that the story behind it is kind of deep and emotional. He says that he's okay with that, so she starts to tell her story. She was adopted, which she's always known, but her parents put her in all of these extracurriculars, and that's okay. It's good for kids to keep busy and to find out what their interests are. However, when it became obvious that Anastasia was good at figure skating, that quickly spirals into the adults in her life being all like, oh, she's going to the Olympics, and little baby Anastasia internalized that. She admits to Nate that the desire to be perfect all the time gave her bad anxiety. Eventually, she started to see a therapist who encouraged her to start writing down her goals for the upcoming week. And while I do feel like it's good for a young child who's spiraling out of control to keep a day planner, I feel like it's a crutch that should have eventually been eased away from her. After all, the entire point of therapy is to stop behaviors such as obsessing over minute details like that. Anyway, Nate thanks her for sharing and they make out for a while before she goes upstairs. However, Aaron decides to show his singular personality trait, which is being a nasty jerk about every single thing in Anastasia's life. He complains about her hickeys, claiming that he won't skate with her while she has them, that they make her look cheap and trashy. Lola is on Anastasia's side, claiming that Aaron is only grumpy because Anastasia is getting some and he's not. In exchange for hot chocolate with marshmallows, yesterday Henry gave me a very detailed account of how he could make me fall in love with him if Nate were to ever ruin the chances of him getting laid again. Oh look, here comes Horace. Henry and Anastasia study together at the library, and Horace once again asks why it is that the story isn't the romance between the two of them. After all, they have way more chemistry, and Anastasia actually likes spending time with Henry. Henry randomly tells her that the walls in their place are thin and that she's quite loud when she's with Nate. Awkward. Why would you tell somebody that? They walk to the rink together where Anastasia has her practice with Aaron, who yells at her that she's too distracted. And I get that it's frustrating when you're doing this couple set and somebody isn't pulling their weight, but I have yet to see any actual value to literally anything Aaron has to bring to the table. Yes, his daddy is rich, but holy cow, there is no amount of money in the world to make up for that stank attitude. After the rehearsal, Aaron storms off into the locker room. Nate offers to beat Aaron up, and Anastasia says no, that they have another competition in 2 weeks. But if we don't qualify and you happen to hit him with your car, that's not my concern. Nate then convinces her to shift some things in her schedule around so that they can hang out some more later. Chapter 18. Nate randomly suggests to Anastasia that they should, and I quote, play house, the kind of make-believe game a lot of children play where somebody is mummy, somebody else is daddy, and then there's baby, and so on. I'm not quite sure what this is supposed to mean in this exact situation, and the narration is no help at all. He tries to say that he simply wants to get to know Anastasia, and that's hardly a crime to try to get to know her. That it doesn't have to do anything with his romantic interest in her, which I think is fair. If I was friends with somebody, it seems fair enough that they'd want to watch a movie together. I still don't know what this has to do with playing house, except maybe the author's demented way of squeezing in a tacky "you can call me daddy" joke from JJ. Barf. They let her cuddle in bed while Nate scrolls through a costume website. Buying Halloween costumes together was Nate's paper thin excuse for wanting to hang out more with her, but that isn't important. The two of them get into a fight over what they should eat. Well, I wouldn't really call it a fight so much as the narration slapping us in the face with Aaron forcing Anastasia to have an eating disorder. Put a pin in this for a moment. Ryan calls and invites her to come out with him and Olivia for wings. She says no, that Aaron has been super mean about her weight recently. Ryan gets upset with the way that Aaron treats her, but Anastasia insists that it's fine, that he's always grumpy before a competition. Which I kind of get, but the entire point of being in a competitive sport is that there's always going to be one more competition coming up until the season is over, or in this case, until they get eliminated. So by that metric, isn't Aaron always grumpy? Upon finding out that Anastasia is with Nate, Ryan expresses that he's happy that she took his advice and quickly hangs up. Anastasia has explained to Nate that Lola and Ryan encouraged Anastasia to choose after Nate for science. Nate gets angry about finding out that Aaron has been forcing Anastasia to practically have an eating disorder. He says that she doesn't have to talk about it if she doesn't want to, but obviously wants to know what's going on with that. He eventually orders rings despite the fact that Anastasia rejected the offer of going out to get rings with Ryan and Olivia, but then again, maybe she simply hadn't wanted to go hang out with her former situationship and his new girlfriend, which I suppose is fair. But then the narration won't stop highlighting how much Anastasia was enjoying her wings, which she ate in front of the rest of the hockey team. Henry said that her moaning over the chicken was making him super uncomfortable and that it was bad enough he had to listen to sex noises through the wall. And I only want to say one thing. When you are an author, you can write literally anything that you want. And this is the thing that the author wanted to write. Henry telling literally everybody that he can hear Nate and Anastasia through the wall. Why? Nate and Anastasia then go upstairs where she says that she wants to hurry up and do bed stuff with him before Henry comes back up. Nate calls this playing house, which I feel like the author's experiences and mine are not the same. This is super gross. Chapter 19. The next morning, Nate forces Henry in and makes an apology to Anastasia about how he said that he could hear them through the wall, except that the forced apology only makes things worse in Anastasia's opinion. Naturally, Nate feels like he did nothing wrong here and wonders why she's so upset. Lola's butt-ass naked in my room, rummaging through my closet when I walk in from my Saturday shift. Hey, hot stuff, she chirps. How was work? I'm sorry, are there people out there who are simply this comfortable around their friends? Be a little more uncomfortable around people. Please. Later, Anastasia goes home. Lola is searching for a Halloween costume for a party at a bar later that night. The narration then takes a left turn into talking about how abusive that Aaron is. Even the narration admits that Aaron's quote-unquote mood swing is nothing new, but he's simply so angry over Anastasia being with Nate that he's been refusing to talk to her. He only perks up during practices whenever he finds out that Nate won't be picking her up. Anyway, none of this is important if the narration doesn't seem to want to spend any time deep diving into how terrible of a person that Aaron is. It skips over to them going to the club where they find out what the hockey team is dressed up as. It's a group costume with every single member wearing minion onesies except for Nate, who is dressed as Gru. Anastasia's costume is, hockey player girlfriend? Girl, at least put some freaking animal ears on that or something. Come on, that is not a costume you simply put on a stolen hockey jersey and literally nothing else. For some reason, we need most of a page to describe this costume. However, it's JJ's jersey, so Nate drags her into a bathroom and demands that she take it off. Who wants to bet that she's not wearing a stitch under that jersey? He expresses how angry that he is, and then things start to get hot and heavy. There's nothing to be said about any of this except the fact that the narration goes out of its way to highlight Nate's Gru costume. So if I have to think about Gru banging a hockey bunny in the bathroom, so do you. The rest of the scene is bland, boring. I've read this a million times in other books before. There's literally nothing that sets the scene apart. Even the location of a club bathroom has been done to death. They go back to the others who complains that Anastasia should be wearing a Minions onesie. She thinks that she'll wear one next year, which kind of seems to be making way too many future plans with these people. I honestly wouldn't give her a Nate until the end of the school year. if we're being realistic here. Lola shows up with Aaron, who is clutching his arm like he's hurt. Lola shoots Anastasia a look that she knows well enough. Shit is about to go down. Aaron complains that Nate did something to him. Chapter 20. Nate is surprised to hear the idea that Nate hurt Aaron as much as everybody else is, meaning that he obviously didn't do this. I'm not surprised at all to find that Aaron is either faking this or that he hired some random thug to beat him up. He seems exactly like the kind of person who'd put his dreams aside simply to get back at Anastasia. Anastasia starts crying about not being able to compete, which finally forces everybody watching to realize that this is super serious. Later, Anastasia texts Nate to demand a break from him while she sorts out what happened. I spent all Saturday bouncing from house to house to grill each of the guys who weren't there last night, and they all swear it wasn't them. Why does he spend more time on the mystery of who hurt Aaron than he did on who sabotaged the generator? The hockey team later gets called into the trophy room again. Nate has this to say. Aaron told his coach something was on the floor outside of his locker and he slipped. The hockey team is playing pranks again, he told her. He told Anastasia someone saw me do it and told him afterwards, but he claims he doesn't know the witness's name and he's not told Brady it was me. No, he saved that bit for Anastasia, claiming he doesn't want me to get into trouble because he's looking out for her. Once again, I don't believe Aaron for a second. He has been looking to cause trouble this entire book, and I wouldn't put it past him if he intentionally let himself fall simply to cause more drama. Anyway, their coach yells at them. He eventually suspends hockey indefinitely until somebody confesses to this crime. The idea that nobody actually did this is apparently too much for the coach. Part of me kind of gets it. Before Nate became the captain, there used to be a lot of petty and cruel blanks being pulled. But the problem is that remaining silent because you personally didn't do it isn't the same as remaining quiet because you don't want to be caught. Coach is honestly being kind of terrible for something that I'm 100% convinced Aaron did to himself. Anyway, Nate decides to fall on his sword in order to protect the rest of the team. Even the coach doesn't believe Nate, which I think is laughable, but his punishment is that he can't be on the ice or even doing any practices until Aaron can get back into the ice, which is fair enough punishment, all things considered. Too bad it's not directed at the actual perpetrator. My head is still throbbing, and I've never been as grateful for a car that drives itself as I am right now. I'm sorry, what? We don't even have this technology being mass-produced and available for random people to buy. Are we all going to fly up into space next? What is happening? Anyway, following this, Nate goes over to Anastasia's apartment to try and talk to her. Aaron answers the door and he looks super smug. Anastasia continues to not want to talk to Nate, which isn't exactly a surprise. She already knows that Nate confessed to having done it, which is honestly impressive because it literally happened. According to what Anastasia said, Coach Faulkner would have needed to tell the dean, who needed to call up Aaron's parents, who needed to call their son, who needed to tell all of this to Anastasia. That's 4 degrees of separation, all within what I'm guessing is less than 15 minutes. The chapter ends with Nate's headache being so bad that I think he passes out. The narration leaves it on a cliffhanger, and the start of the next chapter has nothing to do with this, so who knows? Thanks for listening to my Book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to help me out. The first is watching this video as well as all of my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main Book Snarks, always free and updated every morning. Newly added to Patreon is to become a member without paying. You'll get access to the same things on Tumblr, but on Patreon. Supporters can have access to so many more book snarks starting at $1 a month. Also new is a 1-week free Patreon trial, so be sure to check that out. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $6 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well, just $10 per chapter. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of spicy short stories and 2 full-length novels. I also frequently run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you know when I might be offering things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys!